special guest with me today. This is Robert Bernstein. Now, Robert Bernstein has devoted 30 years of his life to treating children, adolescents, and adults with a wide range of cognitive challenges. Rob's book, Uniquely Normal, which will hold up for you as I'm saying this, tapping
Oh,
into the
wow.
res that's your cue.
You're using me.
Tapping into the reservoir of normalcy to treat autism. And this consists of 27 studies, case studies that have won 6 awards. And Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are the keynote speaker at this year's World Autism Conference in Colorado in December, right?
Well, I don't know if they decided who the keynote speaker is, but I'll be there. I'll be speaking.
They,
I'll be speaking.
they already have you on their website as their keynote speaker.
Well, that's nice. I didn't know that. Thank you.
That's hysterical. Yes, I saw that this morning. I was so proud. I'm like, and he is on my podcast. So, welcome to Momnificent. For those of you tuning in, I'm the host of the podcast Momnificent. I'm a public school principal, and I just have a heart to help moms raising their kids. And here today, we're talking about autism, and we have an expert who has worked for years with kids. So, Rob, thank you so much for joining me.
I just feel so old.
Oh,
For one
stop!
year, 30 years, all this time. No.
Okay,
I'm happy to be here.
throw
That's
that
all.
in the trash. But people appreciate your expertise because you are a man with wisdom. And so we're just going to jump right in because here I am trying to follow my questions. And you're like, Karin, just tell me what your teachers and parents need. So I'll start with the teachers, for example. So in my experience working with closely with teachers, I was explaining to you, we have 4 classrooms with autism, students with autism. And, sometimes we have older students, like maybe 4th and 5th graders, they're non-speaking and they will display behaviors where maybe they kind of run across the classroom or try to run out of the classroom and it can be so frustrating when you don't know what they're trying to do. And for us, we just want them to almost, like, I'll say, act typically, just because that's what we know we can work with to control in a sense. And I guess it's the sense of when the kid is out of control, how and the frustration that you can't, it sounds bad to like make them be in control, but when you're like, oh my gosh, what are they going to do next? And they're just like running out of the room or running down the hallway, and you're like, help me. So maybe we just start there.
I like to talk to you like you're my sister-in-law
Okay.
and start yelling at you. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Well, look, but think of what you just said. The kids are running around, they're not speaking, and it's making all of us teachers feel frustrated. We're frustrated.
Yeah.
And what do we do to control their behavior? And I want to turn that whole perspective around.
Okay.
And taking a look at the kid. Here are kids. Non-speaking is, the first 4 chapters of my book, kids who are non-speaking or very little language. And it's like, they're the ones who are frustrated. They're the ones who have ideas. When you talk to a parent and the kid's non-speaking, right? And the parent says, my kid understands everything. And that's not true. Well, there's some truth in this. The kid understands a lot and the kid can't express it. So think of the frustration. I'm talking with a parent today, it's the same thing. Think of the frustration within the kid, that the kid knows what he or she wants to, or they, right, wants to say, and like they don't have a way of saying it. They don't have the words. They don't have the expression, the communication, whether it's sign language, whatever it is, they don't have that. And like, of course, anything they do is not going to be good or right, including withdrawal. So if I asked you or your teachers, here's a child non-speaking and the kids by themselves and they don't present the behavior problem, you're not complaining about those kids, right? Or a non-speaker is so frustrated, like, don't you understand what I want? And they're like running around the place. That's the kid you're attending to. That's the kid that you're asking me for help with. And I'm saying, It's the same thing for both kids. They both need a way of expressing themselves. Let's look at it from the kid's point of view and help them. It's easy for me to say it, but I'm just giving you a perspective. Let's help them express themselves as opposed to saying, well, we got to stop this kid's, I can't teach my other students. There's too much noise in the class. He's running around. Help me calm this kid down, and now you're looking at changing the behavior, and I'm looking at changing the internal mechanisms, the mind, the way the kid's mind works, the frustration. I'm looking to help that.
Uh-huh.
So I know I could tell by expression I'm not answering your question. So
No, that's okay. You're
but
good. No, it's good. Because
I've had,
we just want to remove the kid, right? Like the kid's in the room with other kids, and now they're causing disruption. So our natural thing is they have to go to like called like the calm down, or they have to take a break, or you got to remove.
right.
So keep going.
Right.
This is good.
So I'm telling you things that I haven't said in 20 years because I get questions from different people, different situations. But as a teacher, and I taught probably every disability except blind, right? Except deaf. I haven't had experiences with those, but how many teachers in these classes? One or two? One class, one teacher?
One teacher in the class, and it's only like 4 or 5 kids with 2 paraprofessional
Two
supports.
parents. Okay. Oh boy, I may get in trouble with you.
Well,
You may not like what I have to say.
Well, we have a whole program that the district designed this as. So go ahead, because I didn't design the program. It just is what I'm told
At that
happens.
moment, let's just say I have a point. Let's just say I have a point. And this kid is screaming, and you're saying, wait a second, there's something about this kid that I need to understand. And this is what I've done. I've had 30 years just in the classroom, I had 30 years. And then I had my own practice for another, right? Whatever.
Yeah, right.
So what I would do, right, in all practice, I would say, all right, I'm taking that kid. And again, it doesn't matter if it's a behavior issue or just difficult. I would do this. This would be the way I would teach. I would take that kid on the side and give him one-on-one attention, not to change his behavior, but to understand him, to understand what's going on, what he's trying to express, and whatever it is, you have to give me a more specific situation to me to know what to specifically do.
Yeah.
The kid's screaming. At home, it's easy. Do you want something to eat? You want to show me what you want. Good. The kid wants to go outside. All right. At least I'm not trying to put him in his seat or on the floor with the other kids so I could have peace in the classroom. Wow, this kid really wants to go outside. Oh, okay. Maybe one of the parents could why don't you tell me go outside? Why don't you say something like that? Why don't you point, go outside? Why do you don't have, if you want to go outside, depending on the kid, help him express that. And if you realize the kid's non-speaking, he's going outside, all right, let a parent go outside with that kid and see, like, all right, now we're outside. What is it? Now what? Oh, he saw, a little worm under this rock on the way to like, oh, really? Like, wow, that we don't know. If you give the kids a chance to express themselves, miracles happen. Like, wow, really? So that's what it's all about. That's what you're interested in. That's what you want. So I'm just making up this example as a way of kind of changing the paradigm shift of like, I'm overwhelmed as a teacher. I don't know what to do. This kid's ruining my class, to saying like, all right, let me follow his lead. which is the first line of the forward of. Do you know that?
That's your tagline on your website, right?
Well, okay.
What is it? I
I
made a
think
post. I made a post about it, and I can't even remember it. Right? Like listen to your child. Let them follow their lead. Something like that, right?
yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Follow their lead. Yeah.
So do you think maybe do you get frustrated with our educational system because sometimes it's like we have it backwards or something?
The
Because
short answer is yes.
as you're saying this, I'm thinking, but the teacher's like, well, we have a routine, we have a structure, we have a da, 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 da. But what you're saying
Right.
is almost letting the kid create their educational experience. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Right. And then
And how often do we let them do that? We don't.
You know, I'm beginning to like you. You're right.
But that's what you're saying. Okay.
But I'm not the only one saying
Keep
it.
going. Keep going.
The first time I heard this was from my friend Wen Lawson, but this has been going on since the 1500s. Nothing about us without us.
Say that again.
Nothing about us without us. You're making a film about autistic people. You better have autistic people on advising you. If not a person on the spectrum doing the acting, it's himself or herself.
So you're saying we've created an educational system for like we have an autism building as classroom, and we don't even have autism kids helping us design what they need in that classroom. In a sense, is that what you're saying? Right?
You're perfect.
Oh my gosh!
I know I should have married you.
Well, you know what I think is hysterical? I think kudos to you.
Right.
You have a TikTok channel, which I think is amazing because I just started one in January. And you know what I have the highest viewers of my TikTok videos on? Autism and ADHD. And you know what my favorite thing is doing? Saying like 5 things a kid with autism wants you to know. Why? Because nobody's telling us what the kids with autism want to know, want you to know.
That's
and
good.
it's fascinating. And it's kind of like what you're saying. Like, can you see from their lens for a minute, maybe?
Exactly. Exactly.
That's okay. Exactly tell us something else that you've learned that maybe a parent with an autistic child, like my sister-in-law in Poland's 3-year-old son just got diagnosed with autism 3 months ago. He's 3 years old and he literally just stopped talking. And now he does this whenever they think he wants something, but he can't say it. So he's like doing this, and they are, well, now she has him in a kindergarten and an hour away that has for autism kids, etc. So what's something you've worked with parents over the years that you could say to like my sister-in-law that she might not realize, that over time you're like, if parents just realize this, what's the advice you would tell them?
All right. There's 100 things, but let me kind of get a sense of what's happening with your sister-in-law's kid.
Yeah, sister-in-law kid.
Okay. She's taking this kid to a school or a class specializing in autism. All right. Number one, the kid has to hear real language, right? The idea.
So put them in a normal school.
Well,
is that what you mean by real language?
Well, let me go on. The idea of a class with autistic kids is that this kid's going to be in a class of kids who are like him, which serves the system fine, because then they get the funding and then they have this and then they have, but fine. But for a kid to learn to speak in full sentences and back and forth conversation, they need to hear that language. Don't make it
so simple. Talk to them normally.
Right. Don't break things up. Don't make it easy. It's easy. Because we didn't learn that way.
Well, what I hear us in school with our students with autism is talk less, they tell us. So we use this like good walking, nice sitting. Like we use these little like phrases, but you're saying like, it's okay. Just talk to them normal.
It's not only okay. I'm totally against that. And I will be happy
to have it backward.
I'll be happy to have a discussion, not an argument. I'd be happy to have a discussion with all these people because there's no excuse to talk to kids like that. Okay, do you remember your first word, Karen? Okay. Your
Sorry.
first word probably was not boy, chair. The first 50 words in speech therapists have, it's
Yeah.
not going to be that. Your first word, besides maybe mommy and daddy, right? The
Right.
first word is often a word like up, something like up, as opposed to door.
Something you want. Pick me up,
Right?
right? Something
Yeah,
eat. Okay.
right. Because up they hear in 20 different ways. Pick me up, get up, pick that up, let's get up, hey, stand up. They hear up in so many different contexts in real situations. The
Okay.
kid, how many little kids want to get picked up? About 100%. I mean, right? I
Yeah.
did this actually today with somebody. Just today. I mean, I recorded it. The kid wanted juice and the kid had to sit on the chair. I said, forget about the juice. Go around in front of the kid, put your hands under his arms and say, tell me, pick me up. I mean, the kid wants it. He sees it. He's intending to want that. See if he could say, pick me up. Right? It didn't work because the kid really was obsessed with the juice. But you try, and this is what if I didn't say this in the book, I'll tell you, but don't tell anybody. All right. But things that, if you get I tell you all the things that work for these kids. 20, I have 30 pages of how I got a kid to talk in the first chapter, right? I'm not
Yes.
going to tell you all the times that didn't work. Okay, so I'm telling you now, and this is our secret. I'll try something. When I say it didn't work, I'm saying I'm doing what I think is the right thing to get this kid to talk. Pick me up is perfect for a non-speaking kid because it's all there, the emotions. You don't talk without a few things, and one of them is affect. If there's no affect, there's no speech, there's no language.
Wait, what do you mean by that? Say
In
that
other
again.
words, some emotion. There has to be some emotion behind the
when
word.
when we're talking to them.
When they're talking to you, for a kid to learn how to talk in the first place, there has to be some emotion behind the word.
So our job is to get them almost to the emotion, maybe?
You don't have to
No.
do it. It's going to
Oh.
be there. If you follow their lead, you'll see that emotion. As opposed to you hold up a card and you say house, say dog. Where's the emotion? It can only do more harm than good. It's just my
Okay.
philosophy of education. It has to
Okay.
be meaningful and come from, if the kid wants to be picked up, the
He'll
intention,
say it.
the emotion is there. If he's not saying it, he can learn to say it.
So why don't these kids speak?
That's great. That's a great question. And
What is it?
I don't have a good answer for you because nobody does. Otherwise, we would give the kid a pill or an injection or something.
Fascinating. Yeah.
But it's developmental. Okay, it's not the mother's fault, right? It's something in terms of development. If you understand, I love your questions. If you understand the way normal development works, and I refer you to Lois Bloom, who is my mentor at Teachers College, Columbia. She wrote a book, and I wish I had it. It's a blue book on early language development. It's a thick book. I'm saying thick because she wrote other books that are thinner. It may be a lot to go through. It's not a book that, for a parent to read over coffee. But I'm just saying, I understand normal language development. And that's what you want, normal. We started the conversation, speak to your kid normally, okay? So what happens is that I have my own theories about this, that a kid doesn't talk. One reason is that they're not relating the words to each other. The kid will
Okay.
learn associative language. They'll learn words like mommy, daddy, right? These words that associate. When your words are together, there's a relationship there.
Okay.
The definition of autism has something to do with socialization and relationships. I'm saying, and this is just my own theory because you're asking me, because the answer is I don't know. Why these kids, I don't know.
Yeah.
Nobody knows, right?
Yeah,
It may
right.
depend on the individual kid and so forth, right? But
I
I'm
mean, before working with all these kids, a number of kids that I know who are non-speaking, to us, all we knew was selective mute. Really.
right.
That's what I've dealt with 10 years ago. You didn't speak in school, you were selective mute. That's it. So it's just interesting that now we have more and more kids who are non-speaking. And now I'm just
It's
like,
what
wow, what
and
is it?
and your sister-in-law's kid, if I'm get that right, um, he was talking when he was 2 years.
Yes. Yes.
So I have a question for her, and you don't have to get back to me because it's not like you know you live you're my cousin or something. But I would love to know the answer to this. At around 2, kids start learning to combine a couple of words at a time. There's a huge difference saying dog eating rather than dog. Because dog eating is a story. Dog eating has emotion. The
Yeah.
dog's eating. It's interesting. Dog might be interesting, or they might be saying dog, cat, tree. There's not much affect, there's not much emotion. But dog eating, hey, something's happening. I want to know from your sister-in-law that when the kid was 2.5, before stopping to speak, did he use 2 words together? And there's a
Okay.
word for that: syntax,
Okay.
grammar.
Yeah.
Words relate to each other. I want to know that. I'm so interested in that because because the kid stopped talking, but when he was talking, was it just single words? If it
Okay.
was just single words, I would say, whoa, we could have done something at 18 months, 2 years. We could have done something earlier because you could look right at about 1 year, you say 1 word,
Yeah.
right? 2 years, you say 2 words, but the 2 words are together. It's different from just
Mhm.
more words.
Right.
I taught a kid like 3 word utterances, like pick me up and all that stuff at a camp, for 6 week camp, right? The
Yeah.
kid goes back to Detroit, comes back the next summer at this summer camp. The teacher's so excited because I wrote, all this stuff. She said she's so excited. The kid could say 50 words. And I'm saying, uh-oh, I could hold up a picture of a raisin and he could say raisins. But he forgot, he wasn't able to combine any of the words.
Yeah.
So to me, it was a waste of time, basically,
Yeah. Yeah.
because his mind didn't go to real language.
Okay.
Right? Real language is this back and forth and words that are connected, words that are meaningful. He was able to say 50 words and she was very excited about that. So I want to know if those words were connected.
Okay.
That would really help. It will enhance my theory of what I think the brain is doing.
Okay.
So that's
All right.
that's that's the key. Go ahead.
Okay. So tell us maybe one of your examples in your manual, because I started peeking through that and I was like, this is so fascinating. Can you give us a glimpse into one of those little practices that a parent listening, it might intrigue them to want to read more?
Okay. Um, so I have an example, and this is fresh. You won't believe this. I'm telling a parent just today.
I love it. This is
Uh,
awesome.
this kid was young, 3 or 4, going into a group of kids, and they do things like, "Oh, we're sitting in a circle, and and your mom said something nice about you." I'm going to tell you what your mom said nice about you,
Oh,
which may work with the other 10 kids, but it won't work with him because he's non-speaking.
okay.
It's not going to mean anything to him. And so now the mother has to go there so the kid could sit still and be part of a group that is totally meaningless. And I'm saying it's the teacher's responsibility to engage the kid. You want the kid to be engaged, whether you're
Yeah.
following his lead or you're giving him something that he is enjoying. So I suggested, um, I'm looking at the book, this helium balloon thing,
Okay. Yeah.
right?
All right. Tell us about that.
And
Yeah.
it's like it's filled. It's just filled with potential language. You could get a tank for, you could buy a tank for like $50 and it could blow up, I don't know how many balloons, probably 100 balloons or something. So depending on the kid and the language, what this is what I would like. This is the way I start, and I think I have it in my book. And saying an example, give the kid a balloon filled with helium, right? No string, no strings attached. That's just a stupid thing that came into my mind. No string. You
Yeah.
give it to, and you tell this kid, I don't care if he's speaking, non-speaking, I don't care. You tell a kid, don't let go of the balloon. Don't let go. And if the kid really listens to you, and that's going to be the title of my next talk, kids don't really listen to us anyway. So you say to the kid, don't let go, and the kid's probably going to let go, and the balloon's going to go up. Now that's interesting. You're telling them, I told you not to. Now we have to get. How are we going to get the balloon down? It's filled. It's filled with language. Depending on the ceiling, how are we going to get the, maybe you could pick the kid up or maybe you put a string on it, just enough that if you pick him up, he could get the string. The kid's looking up. He wants the balloon. What better way of getting the kid to talk tell the kid to say, pick me up so I could get the balloon down. If the kid doesn't say, pick me up, what I'm saying, it's the perfect thing to do. Perfect in my mind. If you do this sort of thing, meaningful language in terms of early language development, and you mentioned the book, this is one of the things I have in the book, then if you keep doing that, like I was saying, in my office, a kid sees me, I'll do something 30 times before I get a reaction. And you're going, oh, well, that's too bad. And I'm saying, what? One session, 30 times, and the kid saying his first word? And I have a recording of a mother saying, I'm showing the mother how the kid says, like the word up or pick me up or something. And she starts to cry. And I say, and after this, we're going to start teaching your kid other words, other phrases. And she says, oh, you're going to take that away from her. Because once the kid says a word, my approach is cognitive. It's sort of conceptual. They have the idea of language. Don't get them locked into that phrase or that word over and over and over again. This one kid finally learned more milk. He got it. More milk. He got it. Now he wants to play ball and he's saying more milk because those are the only words he knows that works.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So use this balloon idea. There are hundreds of examples.
So the idea is to and maybe the balloon wouldn't work for the kid to say get up because maybe to him that the balloon is not interesting enough, right? Is that possibly what you're saying? But when you try when you try different things enough, if it has enough meaning to them, eventually they will learn what to say to add to that situation, right? If they're connected emotionally enough.
Okay, so
is that right?
To get back to that issue of what's really engaging the kid, this kid who wants to go outside, he goes outside. and he picks up a rock and he sees a worm. He's already engaged. He's
Yeah.
already engaged. And if you're there and you say, oh, let's pick up this, tell me to lift up the rock. Granted, I know what you're thinking. The kid has no language, no speech. He's not speaking. He's not going to say, pick up the rock. What I'm saying, he needs to hear that language appropriately at the appropriate time. He understands what the situation was. If he wants the rock
Yes.
to be picked up, if you use the language, at least he's hearing the language that's appropriate.
So it's
At the-
like experience and conceptualize in the experience in the moment is what helps them eventually to learn and say the words.
I love that. You said it much better than I can say it. I love
Stop.
it.
But I think I'm starting to get it. Okay, so last question because we're running out of time, but I'm having so much fun. We're gonna have to come back.
Nice
You're gonna have to let me invite you back on. This this is amazing. Okay, so I one of my roles in the school right now this year is to do lunch duty for a lot of the day.
Oh, good.
And I have my students with autism who come to lunch with their parents, but with all the other kids. And what's one thing you can tell me when I'm in there with them? Hey, Karin, think and do this. Look for situations to do. Like, like all I do is walk up to them and put my hand on their back and say hi to them. So good to see you. And that's all I know what to do. Is there anything else you would tell me to do that can help them along this process?
First of all, lunch and recess are probably the best situations that are real, experiential, which is your word.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is better for language than sitting in a classroom and having a lesson given by the teacher.
Yeah.
They're real situations. So it's capturing that meaningful moment for the kid. So I love to teach teachers by actually demonstrating it and doing it. That doesn't mean it's going to work.
Right.
Because I do it and then I have them do it. And then I say, it's really, and I explain why something works and why something doesn't work. So it's like, what is it? Like 30 kids, 40 kids?
Well, it's 100 of them in the cafeteria, and they all sit at like these, sort of like picnic style tables in a sense.
Right.
And I go up and sit next to them, and they're so hungry, right? So they're eating. They're all these kids, these autistic kids are so focused on their food. So maybe it's something I can just sit with them and be like, "Oh, you're so hungry, right? You look like." Do I just start describing what I see them doing?
Okay, I love it. I love what you're asking and how you're asking it. So the number one thing is their intention. Their intention, what's in their mind when they're intending. If they're eating, if they're grabbing, if they're opening up a package of grapes because they want to eat their grapes, and this is it's not a mistake, but it's not producing language. When you say, "Oh, I see you're hungry," that's pretty. If you want the kid to really understand the feeling of hunger, right? And that, hey, that means this thing inside me is hunger, then that's pretty sophisticated. Interoception, the idea of understanding your own feelings, is really sophisticated.
Okay.
But what's going on in their head is that I want to eat the grapes.
Right. I just want to eat.
I want more grapes. So I take the grapes. He's devouring it. I take it. I say, "Hey, you want another one?" You want another one. In other words, I'm taking that moment and I'm putting words to that moment.
Okay.
If you say, and you're like the overseer. So what I would say in a situation like, not that I'm hungry, but I love that peanut butter. I really like, hey, how about sharing your peanut butter with me? And this is an ongoing dilemma because kids learn. I don't know what it is in your school, but kids learn not to share food because if someone's allergic to peanuts, oh my God, it's like.
Yes, we tell them they can't share.
You
We
see,
tell all the kids they can't share any of their food. Oh
you
man,
know,
we're just
I
ruining these
I
kids.
gave about 6 or 7 lectures during COVID. Every few weeks, I would give another lecture on COVID because the whole situation has changed. So one of my slides is that we're teaching these 2, 3-year-old kids not to share. Sharing is
Which,
it's a cognitive developmental process
oh my
of
gosh.
and if nothing else, it's understanding another person's point of view. That's remember I said early language, there has to be affect, there has to be emotions.
Yeah.
Another
Has
one
to
of these,
connect, right?
right?
Has to connect to
Another
something.
one of these 3 or 4 things, and I'm getting this um, from actually Piaget's work, is that another thing that why a kid what a kid needs in order to talk is that they have to understand whatever they're saying from another person's point of view. They have to understand this other person is going to hear what they're saying, and not just saying it. It's not just in autism being alone. They have to recognize somebody else is actually listening to what they're saying. If they don't have that, they have to be taught that kind of thing. So the idea of sharing is like, hey, maybe he doesn't like grapes. Maybe he wants it. In other words, it's helpful for that kid to understand that there's another person outside themselves. And a lot of these kids, a lot of our kids are just involved with only themselves. That's the autism part, the in autism. And they have to understand there are other people who literally exist outside themselves. And there's 100 ways of doing it, but we're talking about food. And that's like, why don't you, ask him or why don't you offer him a grape? Because he would like a grape. The kid next to you wants a grape too. And
So maybe almost think of it as having a conversation or interaction with someone. Like think of how I can say
right,
something to them that is almost like two-way, even though I know they're going to struggle with the two-way thing. But maybe that's how I can mentally say to myself, what can I create and say right now as if he could talk back and forth with me and we could have a back and forth.
I love what you just said. We
Because
should just,
we don't think of them like that. I will
right.
say, I'll say for myself what I think I know.
This is a 1 minute TikTok video because I love what you said, and what I'm just going to add one more thing to that. Even though the kid doesn't get it, I'm going to do it, and I just want to add one little thing to it. That's how he's going to learn the back and forth.
This is
That's how he's
eventually what will
we're actually teaching.
teach
If
him.
we're doing what I consider the right thing for that kid, and he doesn't get it, it may be the perfect thing for him to learn that. Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? By the end of the year, he gets that back and forth communication. Instead of giving up, and this is something I wish somebody would listen to me. I'm kidding, but I know
No, but it feels that way.
over and over and over again. And teachers, I don't want to offend anybody. I'm going to offend
I
somebody.
know.
I'll go to a what do you call it? A professional
Development.
development, and I'll say something, and inevitably, teachers will say or parents will say, "Oh, we tried that," and I want to scream and choke them at the same time. I'm exaggerating because I'm saying, "Okay, we tried it; it didn't work." But if that's the perfect thing for them to learn to do that, then you do that same sort of thing 50 times because that's how they're going to learn it. So you take that clip of what you just said, even though they're not going to get it, I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm adding one
Okay.
little piece to that.
All
Keep
right.
doing it for
All
that
right.
particular kid because that's the way they're going to learn it.
Okay. I'm doing it all year long, and I'll come back at the end of the school year and talk to you and let you know how it went. Because I think you and me are like kindred spirits in this aspect where I have said, and I, with all due respect to teachers, I have said to teachers, hey, why don't you try X for whatever reason? Autism, not autism, regular ed kid with a little
Right,
little
right.
issue. And this is what I hear. Well, that's not going to work. And I'm like, you didn't even try it. Like, and I don't know how to help us in this. I'll just make it very general in this generation. Can we just try something? Like you're saying, you'll say 50 times. I said, just you just try it a couple times. And it's like, I guess your message is don't give up because it didn't work the first time. Don't just say it didn't work and think that it all goes in the trash. So I appreciate what you're saying, and I'm not sure how often we have to help
I know you
people.
got to go, but I'm going to add one more thing to that before you cut
Okay,
us.
go.
That is, when they don't get it, observe what happens. What do they do? Are they looking at you? Are they engaged? Are they babbling something that doesn't make sense? But that's part of the developmental period. That they're trying to say something. When it doesn't work, are they just totally out? Are they, oh, okay, maybe you have to pick a different time for whatever you're trying. Just really be vigilant, really watch what happens when it doesn't work. What's the it that doesn't work? Sometimes the it that doesn't work, something else happens that's even more important than what you have in your idea.
Okay.
Now you're upset.
No. I'm taking it all in. And I cannot wait to read your book. And you know what tripped me up? That's going to be like maybe the next interview we start off with. The first review in your book says that, and now people listening might not appreciate this because it says, did you see the first review in your book that someone says that ABA is traumatizing? And I'm like, you got to be kidding me because that's what we do. And I was like, oh,
And the
but
person who wrote that was
it
Steve
stopped me dead
Silverman.
in my tracks. And I'm like, wait a second, did they just write? Did I just read that? Like this morning, I'm like, oh, wait, I cannot wait to ask him this question. So that's going to be the start of our next interview.
That's perfect. And the person who wrote that was the person who wrote Neurotribe, Steve Silverman, who doesn't need, if somebody disagrees with him, like me at this stage of experience, that's why I can be confident in saying, oh, that's how they talk to these kids in like abbreviated language. Why don't we have a discussion about it?
All right. So, all right. I've got my charge and I'm going to ask my sister-in-law and I'm really excited. I can't wait to go to school tomorrow. I'm going to start trying this out. This is awesome. But because I mean, I just love these kids at school. I mean, I don't have kids of my own, but I just love these kids and especially these kids with autism. I just see them and I just get so excited and I welcome them
Right.
and I just love on them. And I'm sure they can't say they haven't said anything back to me yet, but I know that is really touching their hearts.
Yeah. Oh, no, I know. And all the questions that the teachers have that they may not ask you because they're afraid that it's going to make them look bad sometimes.
Yeah.
The frustrations and you're exceptional, but there are a lot of principals when a teacher says, oh, this kid can't do this and I have trouble with this, they go turn around to the teacher and say, well, what's wrong with you? Well, that's your job. You got to think of something. That makes you look bad because you're not, I want all those questions.
Okay.
We could have, I'm just imagining an in-service or something like that because we want it to be successful.
Well, when I interviewed Dr. Stephen Shore, he's like, I'm right in New York. I'll come down and talk to your teachers. I'm like, you are? And I'm thinking the other day, I got to take them up that. Could you imagine if both of you showed up? Oh my gosh, that would be
We speak together. We'll come
I know.
together.
I know. Oh my gosh.
And with Zoom, it's really easy. But yeah,
It's easy. Yeah. Anyway, okay. Well, let's finish up and we're going to come back. I will invite you back. I hope you say yes, because I have enjoyed every minute. I mean, I was tired at the end of the day today, but talking to you, I am so re-energized and this is so special. And thank you so much for your time, your energy. Thank you for the years that you've committed to this. And how can someone find and follow you as we finish?
Well, my website is Autism Speech, or you could email me directly. Well, Robert J. Bernstein at I should know my site. But
no, I think it's robertjbernstein.com because I was on it this morning.
Right.
I think that's it.
RobertJBernstein.com. You could go to robertjbernstein.com and then you'll get all that information. Yeah, that's the easiest way.
That's awesome. All right. Thank you. And we'll see you soon.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Karen.